Welcome back to News Talk. Sunday may have been Robert Griffin III's last game as a member of the Washington football team. In his remarks to reporters the day after Washington lost to Green Bay in the playoffs, Coach Jay Gruden talked about his decision to go with Kirk Cousins as the starter for the past year.
It played out based on a decision that I made, as far as who I thought gave us the best chance to win, and somebody I wanted to give the opportunity for the season with and see how he could take the position and run with it, and if he could improve. And Robert handled it very well. Obviously wasn't happy. He's a great competitor, accomplished some great things in 2012. He really did. But he handled it like a pro, and I think, in the long run, hopefully it'll make him a better quarterback. I know he grew a lot being a third-string quarterback here. Different system, different terminology, things he was new to him, but I think the skill set that he has, and he learned from the Shanahans, and then the new stuff that he learned from us, I think will make him a better quarterback wherever he goes, however it works out for him.
Noah, Frank, it's remarkable to think back just a couple of years. Washington with an opportunity to draft a college talent from Baylor who we thought was this once-in-a-generation guy, and he has this breakout rookie season where Washington goes to the playoffs. Enormous expense. They mortgaged the future to bring Robert Griffin III here. At the time, the decision to take Kirk Cousins in the 4th round, when they had other needs, why would you double down on quarterback when you've mortgaged the future for this one guy? Why wouldn't you then use your other picks to fill other holes? Well, as we sit here today, the Cousins pick looks really good because that one great year that Griffin had in 2012 was the only success that he's likely to have in this town.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine a scenario in which he is on the roster next year. Whether they cut him loose before the March deadline, whether they trade him, if they're able to trade him, if a team's willing to do that for the salary, if they have to figure out some of the mechanics of that. But it was curious at the time when they took Cousins. It kind of made sense as an insurance policy because they'd mortgaged so much of their future in one guy that, well, we better have a backup plan if this doesn't work out, especially since you're planning on making him the starter right away, as a rookie, which doesn't work in the NFL a lot. And I think that's why we got so high on RG3, why the euphoria, the mania, the RG3s, all that stuff happened, was because rookies don't do that. I mean, rookies don't step in and just have success that transcends the game. And everyone points back, I think, to that run against Minnesota, when he just he scrambled around and went towards the sideline and then just beat everybody, just took off, and that's,
he had another gear
right, exactly, and that's the thing that I think we haven't really had a chance to see. Has he fully recovered yet? We haven't really had a chance to see, where is he now that he's had a full year of no contact, of being able to just get healthy, get smarter in terms of his decision making, and it's tough to do that without games. But he's practicing every day. He's seeing live action in practice every day. One thing that I thought was really interesting from this season was the Buffalo Bills game, which was arguably the best team that Washington beat all year. They're the only team without a losing record that Washington beat all year. Came into town and they were pretty hot. And that whole week, Washington used Griffin as the sort of the dummy quarterback in practice to mimic Tyrod Taylor because they're very similar style, dual threat kind of guys, and that was sort of it didn't get reported a lot, but George Wallace, our beat reporter, kind of mentioned that to me on the side, and sure enough, they had this great game plan. They shut him down. Cousins got all the credit because he threw 4 touchdowns and threw for 300 yards. But they controlled him and they controlled the game and they won that game. And to me, if that's sure there's tons of other factors, but clearly he is able to function the way that he functions, and that doesn't fit this system, and that's okay. That means he's not going to work here, but I don't think that doesn't mean it's going to work somewhere else.
Robert Griffin III has struggled in the pocket passer mold. Not to say he can't and won't grow into that and develop some skills that right now it would appear he does not have. To the extent that that is not his lane, so to speak, at the moment, and he's unwilling to run because of the physical risk or just doesn't have that fourth and fifth gear that he once had that made him this eye-poppingly exciting player. What would another team see in him? Who do they think he could be in terms of the mold? What quarterback type is he, if he is viable?
I mean, I think it's hard to say that he doesn't have that fourth or fifth gear anymore. We don't know. We don't know at this point. We knew he rushed back too early in 2013. He was not ready. He was not healthy. He got hurt again. Maybe he doesn't, but he's 25. I mean, this isn't some 35-year-old who probably is at the end of his rope. He should, by all means, as long as he's had the time to recover, at least be close to what he was pre-injury, and certainly as healthy as he's been since that first injury in 2012. I think that when we talk about pocket passers or dual threat quarterbacks, it's important to remember he has a terrific arm. He has a great downfield arm. He has a better downfield arm than Kirk Cousins has. That's one of the reasons.
In terms of pure distance, the ability to chuck it.
Yeah, I mean, he has the arm strength that few people who sort of get lumped in as these sort of mobile quarterbacks do. It's not that he uses his legs because he doesn't have that. His issue is always just sort of that countdown in the pocket of how much time do I have, of trying to make the hero play every play.
Going through progressions and all.
Right, but instead of going, one receiver, two receiver, three receiver, get rid of the ball, throw the ball away, get out of the way, he would try to make the extra play. He'd try to throw while falling out of bounds. He'd take a sack. There was a number about he had 33 sacks. I think there were 33 sacks of him when he only started 7 games, which that hadn't happened this century. 1998 was the last time that somebody had that few of starts and was sacked that many times. So that part of his game, if that comes along, I think he can be very valuable. But he's obviously not as valuable in this kind of a system that Jay Gruden installed. And he decided, this is my system, this is what I know, this is what I want to do, and I have a guy who fits that system better, and that's who I'm going to go with. And that's okay, but it doesn't mean that Griffin couldn't be successful in a different system elsewhere.
We have about 2 minutes left. In terms of building on the success that the team had this year, we talked a lot yesterday about how re-signing Kirk Cousins has to happen and undoubtedly will cost TBD. It'll be a lot given the year he had and how many mediocre quarterbacks there are and how teams suffer when they have a less than stellar quarterback. What are the other pieces Scott McCloughan is going to be looking to fill?
Yeah, I mean, he hit free agency. He hits this point at a perfect time in terms of both his trajectory, playing really well, and like you said, the other talent available. He'll probably get to upgrade from that van as far as his ride goes. I think that probably the most glaring weakness all season long, you could say, but especially against the good teams. If you looked at the good teams, they played 4 teams with a winning record this year. Played the Jets, played the Panthers, played the Patriots, and played the Packers. And those teams torched that secondary. I mean, the amount of points put up by all of those teams, I guess the Pats scored 27. That was probably the low of the 4. But I mean, Carolina did it. We saw Green Bay once they figured out, that sort of their hurry-up offense and everything. The back level of that defense, you've got some promising guys. Bashad Breeland could be a guy, but I mean, if they went out, if I'm spending a first-round pick on an impact player, I'm looking at a safety, I'm looking at a cornerback, I'm looking at a playmaking type of guy who can come in and make an impact right away, can be a shutdown guy on the number 1 receiver, or can be a ball hawk in the back of that secondary to try to force more interceptions, force more confused coverages. That right now, clearly, that is the weak point.
Noah Frank, digital sports editor at WTOP.com. A lot going on the sports page. Thanks very much for your time this time. We'll talk with you again soon.
Great.
We're back with a program note after this.